Today I'm going to talk to you about why your offers are constantly being rejected and what you can do to make an offer better and actually get a property under contract. Hey everyone, my name is Jamey Prezzi. I'm a real estate agent in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. And today I'm going to talk to you about how you can make your offer more attractive and actually get a property under contract. Sometimes I have buyers reach out to us and they're just super frustrated because they've made multiple offers on properties. And when they talk to me a little bit about the offer process, I get a very good idea about what's going on very quickly. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to make that process better so you can buy a property now. But first, before I get started, if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another update. We do put out new videos every week. Also, use the link in our information box and download our free relocation guide. You can also find all of our contact information there, and we're always here to be a resource for you. Okay, let's get started. One of the biggest reasons why I see offers being rejected, or at least our sellers not accepting the offers, is because the offer looks like it's not very well put together. No pre-approval letter, no proof of cash, and it's just like a big mess of tons of contingencies. So I think the biggest thing that you can do is to make the offer super clean. Make sure that when someone sends you an offer to sign that you can actually read through it and understand it. There's not a lot of junk on it. If there's an addenda marked, the addenda is attached. If you're paying with cash, make sure you send over the proof of cash so that they know you can actually pay for the property. Or if you're paying with financing, make sure you send over a lender letter that has the lender's contact information on it, and make sure that that is the correct contact information. Another thing that's super important is to make sure that your lender actually picks up the phone. That goes a long way, especially if you're in a bidding war with other buyers, and if all of their lenders are answering the phone and confirming that your pre-approval letter is accurate and your lender is the one that does not, that can create an issue in getting your offer accepted. So making sure that you're working with a lender who is very responsive, knows the market, understands our local real estate and customs goes a very long way. Customary things, since I just mentioned that. Sometimes people will come here from other parts of the United States or the world, and they will assume that the way they do real estate back home is the way we do real estate here. And I can tell you, most likely, it's not in the same way. If you are expecting the same way, it might not be a super realistic way. And that's why it's also very important to make sure you're working with an agent who tells you the truth and one that you can talk to and get good advice from. It is customary here that buyers have a buyer's agent to work for them. That's a very long, detailed discussion, but I would say in most transactions, very often, there is someone working for the buyer and someone working for the seller. And that's typically how we do real estate here. Not all transactions are that way. You don't have to have an agent to buy and sell real estate here, but I would say, based on my experience, that's how a lot of real estate transactions, at least those on the MLS, are handled. With the customary thing that I was talking about earlier, I got sidetracked for just a second. It's just very important to make sure you're working with an agent who you can trust and one who can guide you so that they can give you very good advice on ways in which we do business here. I know years ago I had this one buyer who could not believe that all the offers here are written with proof of funds and cash, because where he came from, everything was done verbally. That's not how we do it here. And in fact, a lot of sellers and their agents will not take an offer seriously unless it's actually written on a contract. So not always, but most of the time, that's how we do business. And in fact, Miami-Dade and Broward have very different ways in which each county works as well. And so when we're working for buyers in Broward, we know that's a very different way in which to present an offer versus working with our buyers in Miami-Dade. Just two different counties and two different expectations. Sometimes adding a lot of little junk to contracts can kind of make things a little bit complicated for sellers to understand. And I know when I'm working with my sellers and buyers add in a lot of extra little things, in their mind they start to say, this is going to be a very complicated buyer, we don't want to do business with them. So just remember, all those extra little things that you add in, if they're not really necessary, I would say leave them off, because you can really just kind of create roadblocks from the very beginning just because of the perception of adding in a lot of extra stuff on the contract that's not really necessary. One of the biggest things that I see people do where they make a lot of mistakes is they don't really understand the market data based on the area in which they're buying. Our market is very hyper-local here, and some neighborhoods are moving in different ways than other neighborhoods. So if you're buying in a market where it's still a very heavy seller's market, it's going to be hard to try to get a super big discount just because you're going to be competing with more buyers. And when there's more buyers, there's more competition, less inventory, more buyers, more competition on the buyer side. That's very different than if you're buying in a neighborhood where the inventory is a little bit higher and you have more options, because then you have a little bit more room to negotiate. So knowing the market goes a long way in getting your offer accepted, and sometimes just not negotiating so much just because you think you have to negotiate goes a long way in this market, especially if you're in a very busy and competitive seller's market. And last but not least, reading a lot of the headline news and applying it to buying real estate. You know, a lot of that news is very sensational, and it may not be the reality of what's going on the ground. A lot of the news out there is national news, and we don't always follow the same trends as national news. What I can always do for you as the buyer's agent or the seller's agent is just provide information based on recently closed sales, the comps of what's going on in that neighborhood, and just, you know, to get a good understanding about the market. And that goes a long way in presenting a good offer that will actually get accepted. If you've been making a lot of offers on properties, I hope this video helps you in toning down things to actually get your offer accepted. We're always here to be a resource for you. My name's Jamey Prezzi. This is my husband, Ognjen Prezzi. And you can find us online on Instagram at the Prezzis, and we will see you soon.